good day today. It's been a lot of good days for the last 3 weeks. RFK Jr. got sworn in today. Well, got confirmed today as HHS Secretary. That's a big deal for the health freak in your life. I know my wife is doing backflips. The additives in the food and stuff like that. I'm sure Alex Clark is doing backflips as well. Before we get to Alex, and maybe you're upset about RFK Jr. getting confirmed, just keep in mind these are the type of freaks he's replacing.
Hello, I'm Admiral Rachel Levine. Climate change is having a disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of Black communities. Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And 65% of Black Americans report feeling anxious about climate change's impact. Through our Office of Climate Change and Health Equity and the Office of Environmental Justice, we're working with providers and community leaders to identify innovative approaches that empower communities to address the health consequences linked to climate change.
I'm so happy Biden's gone. Joining me now, Alex Clark, host of Culture Apothecary with Alex Clark. Alex, go ahead, take your victory lap. I know you've got to be freaking out today.
Okay, can I just be unprofessional for a second? We win!
Yes.
You lose! Sucks to suck! Woo! Oh my gosh, this is such a win. I'm not even a mom yet, but I understand because of my audience. Most of them are young moms. We have been fighting for this for so long, and especially people in the health and wellness space. This is a day in American politics that nobody ever thought we would actually see come to fruition. Most of these people have been categorized as conspiracy theorists, extremists, woo-woo, wackadoodle people. And finally, we've got somebody on the main stage saying, no, there is something really scary and wrong going on with our food, with our water, with our air. You're not crazy. And just the validation of that, just moms who are frustrated sitting there with a vaccine-injured child, knowing that there is something really, really wrong with their child and their health and nobody will give them answers, they have a sigh of relief today.
Okay, I want you to talk about RFK Jr. as it relates to the pharmaceutical industry, because I really, really, really dislike the pharmaceutical industry. And I fully acknowledge that there are tons of wonderful medications and all that other stupid disclaimer crap we're supposed to put out there. But I've watched how evil these people have operated, especially during COVID. And clearly there's some sort of government gangster connection here that needs to be broken up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the first things we're going to do is end the corporate capture of a lot of these industries. So what's interesting, and I thought this was so ironic. So today, Senator Chuck Schumer said something to the effect of, I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he said basically like, it's such a shame we've never had an HHS secretary before that didn't have ties to pharma, that wasn't a former executive to pharma or had worked with them previously. And I'm like, duh, that's the entire point. That's exactly who you want regulating these industries, somebody who doesn't have ties to them. It's just insane that every single Democrat voted against this. And really seeing that happen, I mean, that just proves to you right there why they lost. We had invited Kamala Harris and the Harris campaign to like every single Maha event that we had to have a conversation with Bobby Kennedy every single time her campaign declined. Obviously, we know that the Democrat Party worked tirelessly to make sure that he barely got airtime on the news when he was also running as president. I mean, the corruption goes so deep, and it is all just because of the money that they are accepting from the pharmaceutical industry. And then, of course, you had that amazing banger from RFK during his Senate confirmation, during his confirmation hearings there with the Senate, when Bernie Sanders was calling him out and he said, well, you've taken millions of dollars from pharma. And Bernie said, no, I haven't. And then come to find out he absolutely did. So you're seeing stuff like that that's going to unravel every single day. And we're just going to pull little threads here, and we're just going to see this ball of yarn explode of different money trails and corruption and things that have been happening. I mean, one of the biggest things is just the excitement I have that studies, things that are done that influence the medicine that we prescribe people, the food that we recommend people eat, and not allowing different industries to pay for their own studies. So a lot of these different pharmaceutical companies, when they're doing these trials to say whether or not a drug, like an antidepressant, for example, is safe or not, they're allowed to decide who's going to run those studies. That's insanely outrageous that we allow that. It should be totally illegal, and yet we're doing that. So I'm hoping that that's going to be one of many things that ends.
Alex, as you may imagine, hair loss is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And it's my understanding that you did an episode for me. I don't think it was for me, but I felt like it was aimed at me on YouTube last week. What's the deal?
So I interviewed Dr. Charlie Fagenholtz, and he had some interesting takes on hair loss. So you'll have to listen to that episode. But he had interesting takes on hair loss and what's causing migraines, and even medical marijuana. How marijuana today, it's not this just like health alternative, healthy thing that a lot of people think it is. But he is a functional medicine chiropractor. So he has some really different takes compared to your regular physicians.
Chiropractor.
I'm sorry you felt called out.
Anyway. I did. I felt like that was coming right at me. There was no need for that. All right, switching back to a serious topic here. Chronic illness. Last time I heard RFK speak in person, it was at some rally in Arizona. And he was all over this chronic illness thing. And whatever you call RFK, the numbers don't lie. The chronic illness, especially in children, it's through the roof in this country. And it's crazy given how modern everything is. What's going on?
Well, right now we're seeing, it might actually be lower than this now, but 1 in 36 children being diagnosed with autism. If we wouldn't have seen RFK be confirmed today, my theory is that in 15 to 20 years, it would be actually impossible, nearly impossible, for our children to find somebody to marry that didn't have autism for the next generation. So that's very, very disturbing. We're seeing that those rates increase. Food allergies. You know, when I am speaking publicly, and I know that I've got a huge group of college students in the room, and I've got a huge group of adults around my age, millennials. I always ask, I like to say, raise your hand if you had 4 or more morbidly obese kids in your class. Every single Gen Zer raises their hand. No, the millennials don't raise their hand. If I say, how many of you are on an antidepressant or know somebody who is? Every single Gen Z hand goes up. How many of you are diagnosed with autism or know somebody? Every Gen Z hand. How many of you know people that are pre-diabetic that's in your age group? Every single hand goes up. And then the millennials, it's like no hands are being raised. So what's interesting is that we are prescribing more medication than anybody else. Actually, as far as who is consuming the most antidepressants worldwide, America is contributing to 50% of pharmaceutical sales worldwide. Almost all of them are our young people. And what people are not talking about when it comes to things like SSRIs or antidepressants is that there is a massive risk not only for, get this, increased rates of anxiety and depression. They skyrocket on that pill, which it's like, that's what you're taking it for, right? So that doesn't make any sense. But also, post-SSRI sexual dysfunction, or PSSD. So we have an entire generation of kids and people who are taking Lexapro, for example, and they're only on it for maybe a week, who then have lifelong complications, never being able to reach climax, having complete genital numbness, never experiencing sexual pleasure or just feelings of pleasure at all, no feelings of joy or happiness. It just completely wrecks them. And we also know that the entire idea of like a chemical imbalance is fake. That was a marketing ploy, a marketing slogan, that you have a chemical imbalance. Answer me this, Jesse. When you go to the doctor and you're talking about having problems with anxiety or depression, and they say, oh, you must have a chemical imbalance. How do they test for that? They don't, because it's made up. The sheet that you fill out where they decide if you need to be taking an antidepressant or not in the American doctor's office, which, by the way, this happens in about a 10-minute wellness checkup. The sheet that you fill out and it says, have you felt less than worthy lately? Have you experienced feeling sad in the last 2 weeks? Well, these are questions that everyone would say yes to, of course. It's a human experience. But the problem is that if you look in the really teeny tiny fine print at the end of this survey that your doctor is giving you, it was funded by the pharmaceutical company making your antidepressant. So the marketing team for these companies are who are creating these questions. questions. And it is, we are completely medicalizing and medicating an entire country of people. And it's getting younger and younger and younger that we're doing this. Lexapro, kids as young as 7. These are children who are now going to be on the pharmaceutical treadmill for their entire lives. Their bodies will become so severely addicted to these pills, they will never experience, not only will they not experience the depths of grief and sadness, which is a normal human emotion and experience, they will never experience the throngs of joy and euphoria and feeling in love and passionate. They will never experience the roller coaster that is the human emotion experience. That's normal. We're supposed to be going through life seeing color, not just black and white. That's very, very scary to imagine an entire group of young adults who have never felt true sadness or happiness and what they're going to be like. And that's something that we're going to have to look out for in the next couple decades.
Wow. Yeah, I don't remember many fat kids in my school either. It is different now. Alex,
I mean, there was like
thank you so
one,
much.
you know, and then we bullied them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We bullied them and then they stopped being fat.
Yeah, had that cleaned up by the 8th grade. Alex, thank you. I appreciate you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.